Ready? All right, we're going to talk this evening as part of a public hearing to discuss the volunteer firefighter and EMT property tax exemption. We went over this at a cursory review at the last board meeting. And since then, you'll see a resolution on your agenda this evening, and this is our opportunity to have a public hearing on it. And I want to go over the highlights. It's the legislation that changes and replaces real property tax law 466A through K and streamlines the process. It provides up to a 10% property tax exemption of the assessed value of the volunteer firefighter or ambulance worker that has to have a minimum of 2 years service, and is designed to have a positive impact on recruitment efforts for new members and the retention of those that currently serve. Most of you know, living in a volunteer community, some of the struggles have to be new members, and this is a way to incentivize those people to come on board. There are some eligibility requirements for this incentive. It has to be the primary residence and owned by the volunteer firefighter or ambulance worker. If there's a storefront in it or it's a dual property, you'll work with the assessor to distinguish what part of that should be in the incentive. But it has to be the primary residence. It has to be located within the jurisdiction of that fire company to be eligible for the incentive. Volunteers, again, must have 2 years of service to qualify. That's one of the decisions that this Board of Education will make. It could be anywhere from 2 to 5 years. The school districts that have adopted this have all gone with 2 years minimum and up to a 10%, and we are also opting for a 10%. The fire district or ambulance company will be the governing body that will be responsible to certify somebody's eligibility of that. And not the schools. There are additional benefits that were written into the legislation that target if somebody that is serving in that capacity now, it becomes that 10% incentive would be permanent after 20 years of service, so long as the residence remains in the volunteer service person's ownership. And the exemption will also be extended for a lifetime for a surviving unremarried spouse of the deceased volunteer, if the deceased volunteer served for at least 20 years, meaning that if you and your spouse are members of the volunteer fire ambulance squad and you are there for 20 years and unfortunately your husband or your spouse passes away, or wife or your husband, you would still get that property, that 10%, whether you both don't have to be members of the ambulance or fire department. And then there's also the line of duty death allows for a continued tax exemption. So if somebody was a firefighter or an EMS worker and they were killed in that line of duty, that exemption would continue in perpetuity. Now, the concern with the fiscal impact on the district, it really has no direct fiscal impact on our school district, nor does it limit our ability to raise taxes or levy taxes. Does not also have a negative impact on the taxpayer. I wanted to give you some, you're going to see in the next 2 slides after this, that some of the examples. Here's some of the concerns. The exemption would decrease the overall assessed value that would be presented to the rest of the Menands taxpayers that are going to eat that 10% reduction. Well, it's minimal. The district's tax levy will be distributed amongst the remaining taxable assessed values, resulting in a slightly higher tax rate. But again, the real impact is slight. So if you go to the next slide, I wanted to show this slide first. In order to be eligible for the 10% reduction, you have to choose either that 10% reduction in your assessed value or the New York State income tax credit. You cannot have both. So you would want to choose one or the other. This gives you an example of what that savings might be. I picked 7 or 5 properties here, and I took their equalized assessed value, I reduced it by 10% in the tax rate, and what your savings would be for that particular home. The top one, the savings would be $427.13, and that's based on the current year's data. The New York State income tax credit is $200, so it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that the school district savings is greater than the New York State income tax credit. But I wanted to give you an idea. If your home is assessed at $164,000, your savings would be $500 a year. And I'm giving you the baseline information that does not take into consideration any other reductions in assessments somebody might have. This is just based on the value that you see right there. The next slide gives you an idea of how that change, if we adopt it and it goes into law, they assume it, they take out the exemption. What's hard for me to realize is how many exact volunteer firefighters we have right now and what the value of all their homes are. So I made some assumptions. I assumed that we had 20 volunteer firefighters and everybody's home would be valued at about $150,000. So I reduced the assessed value of that would be assumed by the rest of the taxpayers. And you can see if we had done that in this current year, the rate would be slightly different. Currently it's 30.509000. That's per $1,000. And with the exemption, it's only going to go up a slight bit to result in a $5.49 increase in someone's tax bill. It's a minimal increase to generate people to come on board, and those volunteer entities that save lives and are important to our communities. Why we're doing it now? We have to do it now, and we have to be ready to give it to the assessor's office by March 1st. If we wait until February, it's a short timeline for them to turn around. This gives the firefighters enough time to fill out a form that they would get from their local fire company. They would fill it out, they would send it to the, so they go to the assessor's office. He already reached out to me and said, well, if you do this and you adopt it, send him everything, he'll take care of it from his end. But again, the tax exemption percentage is up to 10% in the resolution before you. I put it at 10%. The years of volunteer service required to be eligible is 2 to 5 years. All the other school districts and municipalities are going for a minimum of 2. The whole purpose of it is to incentivize community members to join the volunteer firefighter or ambulance workers. The certifying entity for the exemption that'll be the local assessor's role. We will not play in that. We don't want to be the one that certifies how many years of service somebody might have. We don't do that. We just put it in place, we give it to the assessor, and then the fire person, the fire chief, whoever that title is, will work with the assessor when somebody applies for one. We adopt this resolution now, it's ready to go. We can send it to the assessor's office and it becomes law as of March 1st. We will see the impact of this on the tax rolls this year, coming in September. Volunteers are eligible for the property tax exemption. Again, I already spoke to this, or the New York State tax credit, not both. It's not 210. We thought it would fix that from the last time, but it didn't. If somebody wants to know, that's not a volunteer fire department. The Form IT 245 is a form that you need to get that $200 tax credit. Some of you that do your own taxes may not know that, but it's out there. And it's not just for school taxes. It is for all taxes. Town, village, government. It can become quite a lucrative incentive if somebody is going to realize that 10% saving across the board on the taxes. Can I answer any questions for anyone this evening?
Just when you had said it comes effective this year, right? So we adopt it, it's the September of 24 tax year.
Yes, sir. Yep.
That year.
Yep, yes, that year.
Just,
I
just want to make sure people understand it's next.
September 24th.
Thank you.
Yep. And there's no limit. It could be a 2-people household. It could be your husband and wife. As long as you're both volunteer, you meet the criteria, it will double your incentive.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Do you know if it's retroactive? Like, let's say someone's been on with the fire department 10 years already. Does that say I'm starting at 10 years of service?
It does. If that's between you and your fire district, if your fire district will certify you that you have been an active member, then yes, it would.
Cool.
And again, the resolution sits before you this evening. Any other questions?
Or comments?
Or comments, anything? All right.
Could we just, and I know we had presence from the fire department this evening. How many volunteer firemen do we have in the district, in the village?
That reside in the village, I believe it's right around 20.
Let me rephrase. That reside in the district, this side of the boulevard.
19.
Your numbers weren't that old. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Did we get any written comments? No. Any other board members have any questions? Comments? Okay, should we start the regular meeting then? I'll call to order at 6:41. Can I get a motion to enter public session?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, we're in public session. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jaskula.
Here.
Mr. Evans.
Here.
Mr. Luke.
Here.
Mrs. Shake.
Here.
And Mr. Ryan.
Here. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have comments from the public on agenda items. Just a reminder for those members of the public in attendance, this is one of two opportunities for the members of the public to comment on or inquire about agenda items. Members of the public also have an opportunity at the end of the evening's agenda to comment on matters not publicly noted on the agenda. Does anyone have anything? Okay, that takes us to approval of the minutes. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School November 13th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, communication with the board. Like we have our yearbook sponsorship.
Thank you.
Michelle handles that.
Marshall handles that for us, yeah, the numbers, the yearbook. Do an ad for the yearbook every year that helps offset the cost. If I really think it's $20, I think it is. Maybe by the next meeting.
Let us know when it's.
Right, yes, we'll have to do the picture also, so we'll have to make sure that we get we're all at. Okay, that takes us to item 2, discussion items, superintendent's report.
Jason. I'm just gonna bring him up on that. So what she brings up, Jason Schwartz from BPD, Bernie Valiant's office, who are our financial advisor, is going to present to the board this evening about highlights, a little bit of an overview, and then the impact they have on our ability to raise taxes, and in particular, the tax cap. Jason, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, twice so.
Yeah, try now, you should be good to go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hold on, we have
Someone's
to-
microphone is
echo. Yeah, there you go. Now try it.
Jason, can you say something again? Oh, Jason, can you talk again? Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions on the presentation?
No.
The only question I had, probably wasn't for you, it was probably for Ms. Nava. Did we see anything in writing yet from the village? We still haven't gotten that. No, not yet. All right, we'll have to follow up, because we thought that was something last week. And we still haven't, so.
Yeah, I just, and that's problematic, right? Because, I mean, you know, he just said that there's a transparency issue. So I want to know which one of these inputs we can control for, and how, you know, realistic is this if we don't know?
Right. Yeah, I think this is fairly representative of the numbers that we talked about, but we haven't seen it in writing.
Yeah.
The public comment on it to the IDA board closes in 4 days, so hopefully we'll see it before then, so we can have a chance to comment before the public comment closes. You know, unfortunately, we don't, the decision's not up to us either, right? Like, we can educate the public, we can educate ourselves, but we don't get to vote on whether or not the municipalities agree to the pilots themselves. The law has changed, I think we talked about this, but where we need to be notified, they do not need to take our input into consideration. The Albany County IDA has, the credit as Mayor Marsh, they've asked us for input and taken our thoughts into consideration, which has been great. We appreciate those working relationships. If there's no more questions, we can let them go.
Jason, thank you for joining us. If any questions come up, is it okay if I email them to you? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Next, under superintendent's reports and updates, I invited Mr. Scott Wolf from CSR. And he has been working with us through the bid process and is here tonight to update the board as to what we've done, where we are, and what to expect next.
Okay, thank you. So good evening. Some new faces on the board since the last time I was coming forward. So I'm Scott Wolf, CSR, managing principal of the firm. Been working with the district, been with the firm for over 20 years. Been working with this district for more than half a dozen years. That much I can confirm. So I was instrumental in the most recent capital project that we completed a couple years ago with the two-story addition. Earlier this past year, we put together another small capital project with Jason's help. I was on the phone with him earlier as well. And it involved 3 major components. Re-roofing the building and reconstructing the parking lots and drives and replacing some mechanical equipment in one part of the building that also, in addition to ventilation and being aged out from a heating capacity standpoint, will add cooling to the building as well too. I did not prepare handouts this evening. This was kind of an informal presentation just to kind of recap where we're at. But I thought it's probably justifiable with new members of the board, just a real quick reference here. The areas of the roof sit just like this. So all of this red and yellow on this end of the building is scheduled to be replaced. The two-story area where the gymnasium and corridors are scheduled to be replaced. And this orange slot is the vaulted area on the far end of the building, on the north end of the building. So this is what the asphalt pavement reconstruction looks like. You have the main driveway coming in here. You have this part of the parking lot, which was not touched in the last project. Other areas that are not colored were. And this green area down to the back, we all know the drive down to the lower lot. Okay? And relative to the area of the building we're talking about mechanical upgrades, the blue areas represent existing air conditioned spaces in the building. This is a little bit older drawing that I just grabbed on my way to the office. The project that I'm going to talk about are these highlighted areas here, which would basically mean that this entire wing in its entirety has climate control. So if you were to want to host, say, summer school or summer activities in a specific area of the building, instead of being spotty around the building, that area would be all air conditioned. There are other areas in the building that are currently, but there's a few classrooms that are not. So it was a conscious decision that the replacement and upgrades of areas in that part of the building are more appropriate to be coupled with a future capital effort. For example, in the kindergarten rooms down in that area, K1 rooms. Excuse me. So we were bidding on a project, or we put a project that had a value of $2,360,000 for project cost out in front of the voters. It was authorized, earlier this past year. Of that, we are at $1.9 million in change in direct construction costs, as opposed to something that's referred to as incidental, which includes professional fees, permitting fees, engineering associated with the development of the process. So this past week, December 5, we opened sealed bids here in the district. We canvassed the bidding community pretty hard. It resulted in 5 bidders for the asphalt paving, 8 bidders for the mechanical work, and 7 bidders for the, for the roofing reconstruction. So 20 bidders for a small capital project. So that's pretty darn good turnout. The bidding environment, the timing was very, very right. We were worried about being delayed in the permitting process of the state education department and escalation becoming a factor. The timing couldn't have been better right now. So we received 20 bids, as I said. And one thing that we look at as a marker of how good the documents are or how they're not is how tight the bids are. So just as a matter of reference, the the paving project had a delta between the first and second bidders of only $16,100. So on a $400,000 project, it's fairly tight. It gets better. In the roofing contract, for example, on base bid only, the first and the third, or the first and second low bidder were $1,100 apart on a $1.1 million contract. That's pretty remarkable. As you can imagine, my phone was ringing pretty quickly afterwards. I wanted to know what direction to go. However, we're in fiscal position that allows us to award the alternates. And I'll talk about those just in a moment, but right now we're considering all alternates on the table for the project budget. So within the category of alternates being included in that contract, the delta was $26,000 between the first and second low bidder. Still a very, very tight margin. So that's good news. I don't know if I've ever been able to say, other than a tie bid, once in my life, something that's as tight as $1,100. That's good for the school district. So, and I had a conference call with Jason this afternoon at BPD's office. We were just talking about where we're at for fiscal position and what the next steps are. We are right there where we need to be to award all contracts. I'm sorry, award all contracts and the two alternates that were included. The one alternate, so let me say this first. Sometimes people view alternates as a safety valve. If the numbers come in higher than anticipated, you might not be able to do a piece of work, but you can still go forward with the contracts. So for this discussion, the intent is to award both alternates. One was a section of the asphalt paving. We had a base bid component, and then we had a smaller section that was an alternate. Another component is the roof in the back, the sloped roof. It doesn't leak. It's newer, although the vintages across the border are expired warranty. It is a little bit newer, and it's not problematic because it's sloped roof. So if something had to give, we might consider something like that. Again, for this discussion, we're pursuing the intent of awarding full alternates. So we are in the process currently of receiving supplemental bid information for the contract bidding documents. I've received everything I need from 2 of the 3 current bidders right now in real time as of this afternoon. Excuse me. But we knew you had your board meeting tonight, so we wanted to provide a quick update. It's going to obviously take another couple of days, 2 to 3 days, for me to say, Jen, we're in good shape. We can make this formal recommendation, or make the recommendation a formality actually, and issue a written proposition of contract award, and then you could convene at your earliest opportunity to take such an action. At that point in time, we'll issue the contracts, the construction contracts. We will be gearing up for the procurement component of it between now and the first quarter of the year, be ready for the project. We're going to have a schedule such that construction would not start until the end of the school year. It's going to be very, very busy here during the summer, mostly roof side and site-wise. So access in and out of the property is gonna be difficult, so we've talked about contingency plans for, the staff that need to be around during the summer. And I'll let, Jen talk about that at a later date, what those plans are. The only thing that has me concerned in any way is the lead time associated with the mechanical equipment inside the building, but the existing stuff would not be removed until we had guaranteed delivery of the new incoming materials. To that end, the anticipation is contracts will be substantially complete, or in one shape or another, to allow for school to resume in September, and final closeout of contracts for fiscal reporting by the end of the calendar year. Kept PPD's office involved in all of those discussions. So it's high-level information, but it's fresh information, really, literally from last week. So I will communicate with administration in the next couple of days on those action steps. Any questions I could answer this evening?
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. I was looking down the table.
I
It's not my
have one that's
first-
not actually related to this bid, but just, at our school board conference this year, there's a lot of discussion about, new incentives that are available for schools for solar panels and solar installation.
Mhm.
And they talk about, the best time to do that is when there's a new roof put on. So do you see anything in either the extension of the new roof or the new units that we're getting that would make solar difficult down the road? Obviously, it's not gonna be part of this project, it would be part of a capital project down the road. But if we're gonna consider that, are we setting ourselves up for any trouble?
No, in fact, if anything, you're gonna have new 20-year warranties on all flat roofs, which is a great position to be in. Usually those projects, whether it's an energy performance contract or a direct procurement contract, they have to build in a one-time removal of the solar array and reinstallation of it so that you can replace your roof in its lifetime. If you're on the cusp of that, front end of that 20-year period, you're in much better position to negotiate that component of it. If you want to put solar panels on the current roof, which we know have some problems,
Right.
that's a completely different conversation.
Right.
The other component that would have to come into play with the design of a PV solar array on the roof is the structural reinforcements, if necessary. Fortunately, through the last capital project, we opened up all the ceiling areas from within, so we have access to the bottom of the roof decks, pretty much every place in the building. So we would not have to perform destructive testing from the top side necessarily for that design to move forward. So I don't see any major roadblocks or red flags.
No concern about the layout of the HVAC units on the roof or anything like that?
No, because none of that, honestly, none of that's going to change unless you redesign the mechanical systems.
Okay.
So the PV
They go where they
arrays
have
are
to go.
engineered to work around them. basically.
Right, okay.
So if that's something you want to entertain, happy to get involved in deeper discussions as to that how that unfolds, what it looks like, and what the concerns are. Look, we're here to be long-term partners with the district, and we'll, if you say that's the direction you want to go, we'll help you start that.
Great, thank you so much.
So, anything else? Okay. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Good morning, thank you for coming.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you for being here today, staff.
Good.
Okay. That takes us to business matters, non-action items, warrants, enclosed with the information of the board of property and following warrant, and the claims audit report for the month of November. Fund A 22, A 23, 25, E2, and H2. Are there any questions on those? Yes, sir.
I don't have a question so much on the numbers or the figures. What came up when I saw we're paying an Exxon Mobil bill? I know we now newly acquired a truck, which will have more fuel usage. Are we getting any of the federal or state grants for exempt on fuel tax when we buy fuel?
No, we don't, but I will.
Now that we own a district vehicle, that's something we should be looking into. We shouldn't be paying it's like 89 cents or something in,
I'm familiar with it.
thank you.
Thank you.
The warrants are good though. I don't have any questions. If anyone
Other
else
questions
has.
on warrants? Okay, business office, non-action items, appropriation status report. there any questions on that?
I do not.
All right, now next item is revenue status report. Any questions?
Can I offer a comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Courtney, this, in part of this evening's agenda, you're gonna see the tax report, the collector's report. Obviously, the village of Conley collects our taxes for us at the end of each year. Right about now, and they have a new tax collector too this year, so they give us a report, they'll all sign that. And part of that is, I always bring it to this meeting, a list of all the paid taxes and unpaid taxes, and if anybody wants to see them, that's part of what you're approving tonight. I just thought I'd let you know I have that report if anybody's interested.
Thank you. Okay, non-action items, budget transfers under 10,000. Any questions on those?
No.
Okay, this is the business matter action items, treasurer's report. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the treasurer's report for the month of November 2023.
A second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Business office action items, real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. I'd say let's read the resolution first, unless I know, Bill, you sent an email about, concern for, opportunity for the public to attend. Are you okay with?
Oh, no, I'm good.
that you shared?
Oh, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay.
I should have said earlier.
Okay, then can I get the resolution read, please?
Be it resolved that the Menands Union Free School District hereby adopts the volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker exemption under real property tax law, section 466A, based on the district's administrative recommendation of the following exemption levels. 1, 10% of the assessed value as determined by the town assessor of the primary residence of a qualifying applicant. And 2, applicant eligibility will be determined by the town assessor based on a minimum of 2 years of applicable service and other statutory requirements. And be it further resolved that the Menands Union Free School District hereby adopts the volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker exemption under real property tax law, section 466A, based on the district's administrative recommendation of any qualifying applicant as determined by the town assessor who accrues more than 20 years of active service and who shall be granted the 10% exemption of the assessed value of their primary residence for the remainder of their life, subject to applicable statutory requirements. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District hereby authorizes the district to adopt the volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers tax exemption under real property tax law, section 466A, based on the district's administrative recommendation to allow any qualifying unremarried spouse of a volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker killed in the line of duty as determined by the town assessor to continue to receive the volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers tax exemption or reinstate a pre-existing exemption claimed by an enrolled member of an incorporated volunteer fire company, fire department, or incorporated voluntary ambulance service, subject to applicable statutory requirements. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District hereby authorizes the district to adopt the volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers tax exemption under real property tax law, section 466A, based on the district's administrative recommendation to allow any qualifying unremarried spouse, I thought we already read that, but okay, of a deceased volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker as determined by the town's assessor to continue to receive the volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers tax exemption or reinstate a pre-existing exemption claimed by an enrolled member of an incorporated volunteer fire company, fire department, or incorporated voluntary ambulance service, subject to applicable statutory requirements.
Second.
Does anyone have any comments or questions before we vote on it? I'd like to say I am in support of the motion. I will abstain myself because my husband just recently joined the fire department, and as I'm quickly learning, calls come in all the time, like all the time. It's a hard job. These guys will tell you too, I'm sure. And they don't get paid, and it's great that they do it, and the impact to the rest of the tax base seems to be fairly minimal. So I am in support, though I will personally abstain from the vote.
I support it and I vote yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to abstain.
Abstentions?
Yeah, I have to abstain.
Resolution carried.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you to the department. Feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you're just staying for that, we won't be offended if you leave.
Yeah, we have drill, that's why Mike left, I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to make it with the other event going on, but thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to continue working with the school district and continue moving forward with our relationship.
Great, thank you so much.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thanks, Chief.
Item C, business office, action items, resolution authorizing participation in cooperative energy purchasing service for natural gas. Could I get a resolution, please? Again, I apologize, there are three very long resolutions
Yeah, I
tonight,
know.
they're at least in order, so everyone gets that much one,
Okay.
except for Charlie.
Aha.
Let
My
me
lucky
start
day.
now.
Mhm.
Whereas Article 5G of the New York State General Municipal Law authorizes municipal corporations to enter into cooperative agreements for the performance or exercise of services, functions, powers, or activities on a cooperative or contract basis among themselves or one for the other. And whereas Section 119N of the General Municipal Law defines the term municipal corporations for the purpose of Article 5G as a county outside the city of New York, a city, a town, a village, a board of cooperative educational services, a fire district, or a school district, and whereas Menands Union Free School District, hereinafter sometimes referred to as participant, is a municipal corporation as defined above. And whereas this board wishes for the municipal corporation to become or remain a participant pursuant to the municipal corporation agreement for energy purchasing services dated the first day of May 2005, the agreement among municipal corporations collectively identified as the New York School and Municipal Energy Consortium, NYSMEC, upon the terms of the agreement, and further wishes to authorize participation as an energy consumer as specified below. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby determines that it is in the interest of the Menands Union Free School District to participate in the NYSMEC and authorizes and directs the superintendent to sign the agreement or the billing schedule and agreement for natural gas on its behalf. And be it further resolved that this board authorizes the administrative participant as the general municipal as defined in the agreement to prepare, advertise, disseminate, and open bids pursuant to the general municipal law and to award, execute, and deliver binding contracts on behalf of the board for the purchase of natural gas delivered to the city gate of the local utility distribution company for the participant's facility or facilities on a firm basis for this participant to the lowest responsible bidder as it's determined by the administrative participant at a price for such commodity natural gas not to exceed 0.656 cents per term for a term of at least 1 year and no more than 3 years commencing May 1st, 2024, and other terms and conditions as may be determined by the administrative participant, or to reject any or all such bids. And be it further resolved that this participant agrees to advertise said bid as may be directed by the administrative participant. And be it further resolved that the officers and employees of this participant are authorized to execute such other confirming agreements, certificates, and other documents, and take such other actions as may be necessary or appropriate to carry out the intent of this resolution. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions? Jerry, do you want to talk a minute about this one? The next one is just to allow us to participate in
Absolutely. This district has participated in the NICE-MEC, it's a consortium. It has 190 participants, municipalities, and for school districts, local governments across the state. They pool their resources and they buy their electricity and natural gas through a consortium, who is NICE-MEC, New York State Municipal Energy Consortium, that's what it stands for. When I was here the first time, that was our second, that was so funny, the first time I was here, we did our first renewal of that in 2010, and then it just renews. They saved globally for the people, the 190 participants since its inception, about $16 million over the course of the life of that consortium, their fuel costs. And what it does is it caps, it brings it all down, like for electricity, for example, we all have different zones. Where, in case anybody wants to know, the energy zone act. And they base it on each zone because they're all a little bit different. So they will go back and they'll get all these bids, they'll advertise it, they'll review them all, and they'll give us a cap where we can't exceed the price. Because you've all seen your bills at home, they go down, they go up. This helps us to maintain that. They analyze our bills, they go through our bills, they pay them. We pay this NICE-MEC 6 times a year. We pay 6 payments for natural gas, and we make 6 payments for electricity. And at the end of that year, they'll do an analysis to see, hey, how did it come in, how did we fare, and do we get money back? Because if we didn't, if we were below that cap, we get a refund. Sometimes, actually, it's not happened since I've been part of it. We never had to pay more. But that's what it's designed to do, to help us lower and maintain a level structure to our utility bills. And it's very worthwhile, so it just has to be two very lengthy resolutions.
So is the price pegged at a certain rate and it doesn't go
Right, so
up?
they'll do a cap, like for electricity right now, it can't exceed that 85 cents, 0.84 cents per kilowatt. And that's based on the zone, which is the highest zone out of all of them. And that zone is right above New York City, because New York City doesn't count, and it's zone H, so we can't exceed that. There are caps, but they don't expect it's gonna go that high, but that's as high as it can go.
So what happens if the price goes lower than that?
Then we pay less.
Oh,
Yep. We don't have to pay, we know we're not gonna pay more than for there. We'll always pay less if it's lower.
okay.
Any other questions? All right, we already have a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item D, same thing but for electricity, resolution authorizing participation in cooperative energy purchasing services for electricity. Can I get a resolution, please?
Whereas Article 5-G of the New York State General Municipal Law authorizes municipal corporations to enter into a cooperative agreements for the performance or exercise of services, functions, powers, or additives on the cooperative or contract basis among themselves or for one for the other. And whereas Section 119N of the General Municipal Law defines the term municipal corporation for the purposes of Article 5-G as a county outside of the city of New York, a city, a town, a village, a board of cooperative educational services, a fire district, or a school district. And whereas Menands Union Free School District, herein after sometimes referred to as participant, is the municipal corporation as defined above. And whereas this board wishes for the municipal corporation to become or remain a participant pursuant to the municipal corporation agreement for the energy purchasing services dated the 1st of May, 2005, the agreement among municipal corporations collectively identified as the New York School and Municipal Energy Consortium, upon the terms of the agreement, and further wishes to authorize participation as an energy consumer as specified below. Now therefore be it resolved that this board hereby determines that it is in its interests of the Menands Union Free School District to participate in the NICE-MEC and authorizes and directs the superintendent of schools to sign the agreement and or the billing schedule and agreement for electricity on its behalf. And be it further resolved that this board authorizes the administration participant as defined in the agreement to prepare, advertise, disseminate, and open bids pursuant to the general municipal law and to award, execute, and deliver binding contracts on behalf of this board for the purchase of electricity delivered to the delivery point of the local utility distribution company for the participant's facility or facilities on a firm basis for this participant to the lowest responsible bidder, as is determined by the administrative participant at a price for such commodity electricity is not to exceed 0.0845 cents per kilowatt hour for a term of at least 1 year and no more than 3 years commencing May 1st, 2024. And other terms and conditions, all as may be determined by the administrative participant, or to reject any and all such bids. And be it further resolved that this participant agrees to advertise said bid as may be directed by the administrative participant, and be it further resolved that the officers and employees of this participant are authorized to execute such other confirming agreements, certificates and other documents, and take such other actions as may be necessary or appropriate to carry out the intent of this resolution. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Item B, action items, corrective action plan for school year ending June 30th, 2022, single audit. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District accept the corrective action plan for the single audit for school year ending June 30th, 2022. Yes, June 30th, 2023.
And I second.
Is it actually 2023, or did you say it was an older audit?
It's this year's audit.
We've been arguing about the 22 audit. It's been kicked back 3 times. I'm still working with the state of New York to get that through, but they don't like that I didn't use the names. It's a superintendent business manager. Feinberg wasn't here then. So I rejected it, and I said, okay, I'll put it in this long and this is Moran. And they didn't like that either. So I called up, and then they said, okay, well, then we don't like your timeline. So that's, I think, the third, I said to them clearly, my board has approved 2 amended corrective action plans for 2022. And you're telling me I'm going to go to them with a 3rd one? They didn't take that.
Okay, but to be clear, this is for
This one is for the
2023.
third one that I'm responsible.
This is the one, okay, that we already talked about. Again, the finding was that
That is like
That's
4%.
it's the 4% finding that we get every year. Corrective action is we'll do our best
We're really
to spend that now. We are just very. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, the action item tax collector's report. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District accept the tax collection report as submitted, the affidavit to be signed by each board member.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looks like we have to sign that before we leave. Okay, action items, donations. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District accept the donations as listed. Camera equipment, village resident.
Second, anonymous camera donation to the district.
Village resident dropped it off, but didn't leave their name.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Did you say this is for student use or club?
Yes, it's for the club that Mrs. Trainer and Mrs. Snyder will be hosting, which is an intro to photography club.
Thank you. You are celebrating that. Item H, disposal, action items, disposal of items. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approves the disposal of the items in the attached document.
Like some filing cabinets, another cabinet, nurse scale.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item 5, policy, final reading of policies. The only one we have for tonight is parental engagement. I want to talk for a second about policy, even though it's not on here. So at the last meeting, we had talked about our, we approved a contract for and a policy related to the cameras that were in the building. After the meeting, we sent the policy along with some of Bill's questions to legal, who had a few suggestions, mostly based on the wording. But one of the suggestions that they made was, basically, we wanted to reflect the contract language in the policy, which was fine, except the contract is cancelable and the policy is not without board action. So the suggestion from legal was to put a statement in the policy that says the policy is only in effect while we have the contract in place, specifically when you're talking about CRO access to the camera systems. So that if for some reason we, let's say we had to cancel the contract because we didn't want our CRO to have access anymore to the camera systems, the policy would still give that CRO access. And we didn't want to be in a situation where the contract didn't match what the policy said. So we want to add a line basically saying that the contract needs to be in effect for that part of the policy to be in effect. The policy committee hasn't had a chance to get together to put those changes into the new policy before we bring that before the board. So that's why that's not on tonight's agenda. It should be on there the next one, assuming we can get the policy committee together before the second week in January. So the one that's on here is parental engagement, which I believe is a final reading. This is the one we saw last time. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the Policy Committee, approve the final reading of the following policy as listed. 1900 parent and family engagement.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, personnel matters, A, resignation. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District accept the following resignation. A non-instructional Andrew Catone, effective November 28th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, personnel agenda. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the updated personal agenda item as attached. A, instructional appointment, tutor, Alex Graham. B, non-instructional appointment, custodial worker, Troy Coleman. C, non-instructional appointment,
Substitute clerical, sorry, no.
custodial clerical, Wayne Conway.
Substitute.
Oh, instead of custodial clerical.
Yeah.
Substitute clerical, okay, yeah.
Oh,
custodial
okay.
clerical. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Second with noted changes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, updated club and sports stipends for the 23-24 school year. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the following updated club and sports stipends on the attached sheet for the 23-24 school year in accordance with the MAC contract. All hours will be submitted and approved via timesheets.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, updated mentors for the 23-24 school year. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the following mentors for the 2023-2024 school year per the MAT contract as listed in attached document.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, superintendent program recommendations. A, CSE, CCSE recommendations. Could I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District hereby approve the CSE, CPSE recommendations as submitted.
I'll just second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
It's fine.
Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, is
I'm
there a
aye.
question?
No, we're good.
I think I jumped again.
It's okay.
Student matters enrollment update. It's pretty steady, 279. Item 9, administrative updates, business managers comments. John?
Never know when I'm gonna be in this place, so. I just wanted to take a moment, one of the things the board looked at this evening was the revenue, status report. And I want you to know that I budgeted, $5,000 for interest earnings, and yes, at the time, interest rates were on their way up, but I will make no assumptions. And I talked a lot about switching our account to earn more interest. And I finally got everything done, money transferred in class, which is another consortium for governmental entities, and we made $13,000 in interest.
It's good.
So I just want to report that I'm so glad we did it, and it will do nothing. So it means all the reserves that we have in certain pools of money will continue to earn money. We get to keep that interest, it gets to go into those. If it's a reserve for repairs, interest will go right into that. You don't have to give it back to the general fund, it wouldn't be a bad thing either, but it gets to make money. So, in the general fund, I believe it was just over $10,000, and the reserves and everything else brought us to a total of over $13,000. I wanted to report on that because I was skipping through the office every day. Okay. And it's just a good thing, it's what we should do, it makes the board and ourselves good stewards over our finances. Staff update, I will have to tell you, I appreciate your patience as we try to get a full staff in our operations and maintenance department. I'd like to thank Ed Fisher, he has worked diligently to continue to work, even though he's done the hours of, I think, 2.5 full-time people, but he does it with a smile, 98.9% of the time, every now and then. He just does, he does well, very, very much. So, your action this evening will bring somebody on. We have been through quite a process in trying to interview and secure somebody for that position. We scheduled 9 interviews and only had 5 no-shows, that's pretty good. The last time we did it was better than that, which really wasn't good, but hey, it is what it is, we're happy. You appointed Mr. Coleman pending fingerprints. He is scheduled to have his fingerprints taken tomorrow. We do not anticipate a problem. I thank you for your continued support in that. And then the only thing I'd like to mention is budget calendar. Jim and I met this afternoon. We are going to present the board with a budget calendar at the first January meeting. It's early in January. It's the 8th, I believe. Could be wrong by a day. I don't think so. But we're going to be going over that and really jump into the budget process. So bring your calendars so we can set some workshop dates and get things going.
Was the information that Gershio sent in that budget, the dates and things, did something change drastically?
Yes.
Did I miss it? What did I glance over? I read it, but what was it that was changed the timeline?
It's not necessarily what has changed, it's the fact that now the ballots they're mailed out much different, we never had
Oh,
that.
but it didn't change the dates and the backwards, the notices and the dates before the
No,
vote.
it changes when we.
That's what I was reading into.
Right.
I didn't know. Mailing the ballots, I read that and I went right over it because I'm looking
Yeah,
for
it
dates that
changes
went back.
some of the times, it's gonna push up the date that they recommend to have the budget adopted by. So, yeah, it will be, it changes.
To give everyone time to
Yeah.
time
To be able to get it on back.
Yeah, mail and ballots, another one of those things, state that.
Thank you, Joanne.
That's it, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Thank you. Principal comment.
Excuse me, this is Wiley from the this evening. She is at her daughter's senior basketball game and had asked me to present her principal updates. So in October, we had a couple more teacher and student Cub and Tigers of the month. Our staff had nominated Mrs. Foley, and for students, we have Devion Johnson and Giovanna, who are all exemplifying the characteristics that we hold in high regard here around cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility, empathy, and self-control. So congratulations to both our teacher and our students. We are excited to celebrate them. Our next slide here is Girls on the Run. So we had a group of girls work with Mrs. Hayes and Mrs. Nersessian, and they are a group that get together to really work on empowerment. And then also they train to run a 5K. So this was our group of 3rd and 4th graders this year that worked with them over the course of the fall and then completed the 5K about 3 weeks ago. They had some families run with them, but really it's a pretty exciting thing because it's not necessarily kids that are just runners. They are all kinds of kids that participate, they work hard, and they really do some pretty incredible things. So congratulations to that group. We had our fall book fair come back under the direction of Mrs. Gibson. She was able to offer this opportunity for our kids over the course of a week. It takes, and Mrs. Tresco would know, a ton of work to set this up, have it open for kids, and then also teach our library classes at the same time. And the fall book fair, that even if we go over the threshold of when you can get money back, she uses that money to buy new books for our library. So the kids should not only have new books in their hands, but they also have the benefit of having newer books added to the shelf within our own library. During our readathon, we had the Tri-City Valley Cats and their mascot come and read to the kids in pre-K through grade 2. Kids were out of their mind happy. They got to read baseball-themed books that counted towards the calendar. So we thank the Valley Cats for coming and seeing our kids. And then our spring musical was revealed, and it is Moana. Moana will be coming to a stage very near you this spring. And our first day of auditions happened, and I hear from the directors that they probably don't have enough leads this year. So we have a great, excited, and very talented group of kids that will be featuring Moana for us in the spring. And then middle school fun night, we had our first fun night. We only have about 80 middle schoolers, so we got a pretty awesome turnout for our middle school fun night. Yeah, I mean, they come out of the woodwork. They come, they have a ton of fun, they do karaoke, basketball, we give them some food, we let them hang out with each other, and they couldn't be happier. A special thank you to our middle school team, Mr. Belsky. They come and they hang out with the kids, and it's just really nice to see them in a different space outside of the academic setting. So overall, an incredibly successful night for them. And last but not least, clubs started today. Second trimester clubs are up and running. Inclusive of volleyball, photography, anime, you name it, the kids are out doing it, a ton of middle school opportunities. And then drama club seems to wipe some of the rosters out. But it's nice to see because our drama club over the years used to encompass about a third of our student body. And, after COVID and all of that, the numbers seem to shrink, but the directors have been very careful about the show that they pick and are bolstering excitement and bringing that back up. We have kids who do an art club to do the sets. We have a costume crew, stage crew, the kids who are on the stage, so it's a nice opportunity for all kids. And then last but not least, we have our spelling bee. Varun will be representing us as our first place student, and he will go to our regional spelling bee. And then we had, I would say, a pretty impressive follow-up. They went on for a little bit here in the library, but Pradusha, Adira, Mohammed, and Meenakshi all had an excellent showing. However, in the end, Varun came on top, and we wish him best of luck as he will represent our school at the spelling bee. And then coming up this Friday, we have half day of parent-teacher conferences. We have our report cards will be coming home. There will be a school-wide December door decorating contest going on, and then right before the holidays, our middle school report cards will land, which they so greatly appreciate. We promise reports every year right before the holiday break, so those will go out. Maybe somebody could convince Ms. O'Connell maybe not to know on the 22nd. But those will be coming out as well. And I think that wraps it up, right, Liz? All right.
Don't go far, which is next to superintendent comments.
So, I have asked Mrs. Trainer to come and speak to the board this evening. One of the things that I am going to try to do for the board is present or provide some intermittent updates about the work that we're doing around the strategic plan. Twice a year, you get information dump essentially from me around our progress on the strategic plan. But I would like some teachers and our instructional coach, Lauren, and staff developers to come and talk to the board a little bit about the work that we're doing around the goals. I started with Mrs. Trainer really because her coaching transcends all three goals. So she works with students on academic goals. She works with teachers and students around our social emotional work, the implementation of responsive classroom. And as we delve deeper into our DEI work, she also supports teachers in that area. So I thought that her presentation was a nice place to start because it touches upon all of the work that we're doing. It is all yours, Mrs. Trainer.
Thank you for letting me know. Question?
Yeah, you're doing
Perfect.
How do you want?
All right, can you share so it goes?
This is a.
That's a big deal. Okay,
Virtually.
perfect. So, the purpose is really for me to get in the classrooms, help teachers with some of the new research that's out there, bringing some, as you see, Mrs. Narcessian, using some hands-on, implementing some of the new, things that are out for students to learn. As you can see, our little friend on the end with AIS is now able to sound her words out. She is very excited about it. So working with that with AIS and then pushing that into some of our general ed classrooms, because we have found that students learn with multisensory. They're up, they're moving, their hands are touching, and just giving them more opportunities to be successful makes them want to learn, want to read, and it's really shown, especially in K3 where I've worked the last few years mostly. So decades of research have shown that the quality of teacher in the classroom is what's going to push our students. It's really going to help bring our students out of poverty, the DEI, our low achieving students. It's going to take them and help bring them up. So my job is to go in and really help them feel comfortable with some of the new curriculum that has been brought in. We've brought a lot, and I have to say our teachers are amazing. They come right along, they ask questions. My door is constantly revolving door, come in, they come, they ask me to join them, co-teach, and just help them find resources, which, I think, sorry, is the next one. So everything, when you have PD, when somebody just comes in for a one day, it's kind of a one fits all, right? One size fits all. With mine, I kind of put out a coaching menu that they could come to me and pick where they are. It's really about meeting the teachers where they're at. Some of our teachers have been here for 20 years, myself included. I have learned a lot by this position, and sometimes I say to Jen, I'm like, how do I look at a classroom and use some of this stuff I've learned, because I've learned so much. So it gives them that opportunity. Where are you at? Some of our new teachers, they are just learning the curriculum that we're using. So they need some of that, some of the classroom management, how to implement responsive classroom because it's new to them. So it gives them their own opportunity to let me know what they think they need. And then my goals that I look at and kind of hold myself to is meeting with the teachers, again, where they're at. Kind of like our students, all teachers are at different levels. All teachers have different comfort levels when it comes to ELA, when it comes to math. So really helping them where they are. Keeping the focus on the students. And I found that by doing that, teachers are more willing to try. It's not a microscope, they're not under the microscope. It's really how can we take the students that are in your classroom and move them forward so they're successful, which then the teacher's successful and sees that and tries working harder. Making those all goal-oriented and data-driven. So taking our NWA, our state tests, our pay-free assessments, where our students, what do we need, and how can we move them forward. Providing feedback in a supportive environment. I am not in there to do observations, former observations, but I do have teachers say, hey, can you come watch this class? Could you give me some suggestions? And it's more about that positive, building them up as we would a student, so they are confident and comfortable when I step out of the classroom to continue doing that work on their own. And then really the ultimate is impacting student learning. So what you'll see in the next 6 or so slides is really how our students have grown. If you look at the low, these are our low performing students with some low growth. So our goal is really to have them in this orange and the green. So we want to move them closer up to that middle. And our high achieving, our students that come in really knowing the material, and if you see low growth, maybe we're not meeting them. So that tells me we have to make sure we're also hitting the students that are at the top. When a lot of our kindergartners came in last year, they didn't know letters in one of our classrooms. It was a special ed classroom. They couldn't recognize their names. They couldn't hold pencils. They couldn't hold, crayons. So to see them all starting to kind of, we have a couple outliers, but moving towards that middle and really focusing on how much growth they have shown over the year was amazing. So that's one of our kindergarten classes.
This is our other. Again, you can see the majority of them in math and ELA are up in that green area, which is showing that they have high achievement and high growth. So they did a lot of moving throughout the year. Our first grade, you can see the same. Although we have some over here, these were low achievers at the beginning of the year, and you can see how much growth they made. So they really started kind of down here at the bottom and have grown so much. So again, going into that classroom, the teachers feel successful, the students feel successful, and they're just moving, they're doing a lot. The next is our other first grade, and again, the majority of them are up in the green and the orange. And then we come to our second grade, and as you see, the majority, again, up in that green. In the second grade, you start to see some of the outliers on the high achievement, low growth. So again, that's telling me this year, that's what I'm going in and kind of focusing, how when they're in centers, how when they're in skill groups, can we differentiate that material to make sure they're getting the level up here that they need as well. That's our other second grade. Again, the majority of them are on the top. And then we have our third grade. So the third grade classes have worked with me. They had me for 2 years, the teachers. So we have really worked around not just prepping for a state test that month before. How can we take some of the state test questions and start implementing that rigor throughout the year? So we really took their curriculum, broke it down, took some of the state questions, and all throughout the year they were being asked those questions. What is different about third grade too, last year we took, I would say, 7 to 8 weeks, good weeks of, I don't want to say no curriculum because there was curriculum, but they really needed to learn how to work as a community. We worked a lot on the SEL. They learned how to have restorative practice. They did their circles. They had tough conversations on how to communicate. What does it look like when I'm working with a partner? What does it look like when a student gets the answer wrong and not making fun of them? Like, what does that look like? So by the time that was done, walking into their classrooms, they could run their classrooms by themselves, the students. It was amazing. I got the opportunity to be in there a couple times. But not only that, on their state test, if you look at the third grade state test, and on their NWEA, the majority of their class is up in that green area. So they grew not only academically, but the social emotional learning that we saw in them was amazing, and also in the teachers. Like at the beginning, I know there were some tears. Like, how are we gonna get them where they need to be? And then to see the hard work with the teachers and the students is wonderful. And then our other third grade class was the same. They're mostly up there. And then what Jen and Kathleen are doing at our staff meetings is kind of showing how you can use interactive learning in modeling that for us. So then I take what they learned in the staff meetings and help them implement that in their classrooms. So this is one of our middle school teams, and what they're doing, they have a question in the middle. Each student gets a spot that they get to write their answers, and then the teacher will say, okay, collaborate. So the 4 students will talk, they come up with one answer, and then that answer is going to be shared to the class. And then the next one is Ms. Perfetti's, showing very similar. She uses the consensus mapping. She puts a math problem in the middle. They all kind of solve it on the end, and then they have to talk about how they solved it, the different ways they solved it, strategies that can be used. And then we have our other end. These are our kindergartners, and I was fortunate to be in the classroom when they were releasing their butterflies. The excitement was really amazing. And then I wish I had video of the conversation of the 4 students that I have there, and it really made me understand that all of our students learn differently. So they were putting mulch on and taking it and like spinning that really fast, and the mulch was flying. And they're like, no, we need more. And their goal was to spin it without any mulch. So they figured out like the slower and the more hands of spinning it, the better. And it just, to me, shows that hands-on, that talking, that teamwork. They were able to solve it, and very happy because all their mulch kind of stayed out there. Our next is a living museum. So with ELA, AIS, we're trying some different things. You saw Mrs. Narsetti working with some of our younger students with the multisensory. This is Mrs. Malkowitz, and Mrs. Ford made a guest appearance. She came in and acted as Edgar Allan Poe. But Mrs. Malkowitz is trying to push some of our middle school students and their thinking beyond. So it's not just a research project, you're going to become that person. You're going to act like that person when you present. You're going to tell us about the person's life using the first person's perspective. So you're actually going to become that, which the students really enjoy. All right, next is kind of how I look at myself. I'm never above our teachers. I'm not below them. I like to walk beside them and just give them whatever they need. It might just be sometimes a break from the classroom to go visit another teacher's class to see some of the work that's going on there. It might be, hey, can you come in? I'm doing this project, or can you help me work with these students? It's been wonderful. I asked some of my colleagues to give some different words of what they saw as me as a coach. So our next one kind of are some of the words that they shared with me. And then our next one, a few gave us quotes. And can you click on the success, isn't it? Yeah, click on that. Oh, it won't let you. At home, it's okay, you might be able to. It shows a girl that is singing at a basketball game, and she forgets what the national anthem is. She goes out, she's really strong, and then all of a sudden, she forgets the words to the national anthem. And I kind of think of that as our teachers. Jen and Kathleen introduce something, the teachers go in, they're gung-ho, and then all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, where am I supposed to go? And you see one of the basketball coaches come up, stand next to her, and kind of coach her through and give her the words of the national anthem. And I think that's my job. I go in, I coach them through, and then by the end of the video, the crowd is cheering, the girl's voice is stronger, she's remembering the words, and then you kind of see the coach without her even knowing go away. And I think that's my job. I really kind of go in, help, be their cheerleader, and my goal is to walk out and see their smiles in the hall down there. And then the last is thank you. Any questions, comments about what I do, presentation? I appreciate that you allowed me to do this. It's been a lot of fun.
I don't have any questions, but I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been, I know it's a relatively, not new, but relatively new position, and I think it was a fantastic idea and a fantastic addition, and great to hear the report and feedback, and see that it's really helping our kids and helping our teachers, and that's amazing. Thank you so much for the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Tracy.
you.
So, next up I have for you, far less exciting, is our annual fire inspection. We passed, and we have our, occupancy certificates that we need, and the library is all set as well. Next up I have for you, Festival of Trees. Our forest participated in the Festival of Trees and led the caroling, and our school has 2 trees down there. For our school, we have a middle school team one, and then one for the school as a whole. We had students decorate ornaments, and there were a variety. There were stars, there were some trees, there were, snowflakes, so any student was able to participate that wanted to. So that is down in the park, so please stop by and you can't miss our tree. It's blue and gold, so it is there for you. And then last but not least, this is our final board meeting before the holidays, so happy holidays to each and every one of you. I hope that you have some nice time with your family, have a little bit of time to unplug. And I am sorry that I don't do check Smiths, but I was feeling a little guilty when Dr. Wong was doing hers this past weekend. I wish you the best, and I thank you for a great start to the first half of the year.
Thank you.
Item 10, miscellaneous. Does anyone have anything? This is an opportunity for members of the board to share anything that wasn't covered on the agenda, or bring up items that they might want on a future agenda.
I will not be here next month.
Okay.
I'm going away to India.
Okay, thank you for sharing, and enjoy your trip.
Congratulations to Longo. His daughter's getting married. So.
Oh,
Son,
that's right.
son.
My son.
Son,
Oh, yeah,
she's like a daughter already, though.
So actually, Bill met my daughter-in-law. We brought her to the school couple of weeks back.
Yeah, congratulations. Travel safe. No, the only thing I had was the 20th, I believe, is the PTA spaghetti dinner. We're gonna try and, I guess the school used to do it a long time ago, pre-COVID, probably before I was a PTA member also, because I've never been to one, but We do a lot of dine outs, but it's been a while since we've had like a dinner at the school where we're really trying to get people to come and eat at the school together. So we're encouraging people, there is a takeout option if you want to take out, but come eat with your community members, enjoy the spaghetti. I think I'll be cooking on the 20th, if anyone wants to do that.
It's a vodka pasta, you just put it in the water. Does its
Doing
own
like
thing.
meatballs and,
Are you coming out of the gym Wednesday, the 20th?
oh, you know, you had cafeteria, I'm just gonna do the cafeteria.
What if Penny's coming, they gotta filter in and want to see participate? Just let me know.
Okay.
Actually, I have to order those, you have to order those you have to pre-order this.
You don't have to, it was
It's highly
encouraged,
recommended.
highly
I
recommended,
will
if you want to pre-order.
Can you do a family of 5?
Yeah. of course. I got
I know,
Yeah.
right?
We'll
Listen.
be all right.
Yeah, but how
I
much
got
do
3
the twins
tiny.
really eat?
Yeah, it's really family of
Family
3.
will be, you know.
I did a
Yeah.
family of 19.
Just one or two, you'll
Teenagers
be
that
good.
just eat and then stop.
Um,
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, public comment, please note during public comment sessions, members of the community may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items. Does anyone have anything?
Was there anyone online? Easy.
Is there, do we need to do an executive or are we all set? Right. Okay, thanks, could I get a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, we are adjourned, but don't leave before you sign the tax
Mhm.
thing, especially Alongo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll sign it.